How's it going, everybody? My name is Hyper, and welcome to my new LEGO Universe multiplayer server guide. It's been a few years since I made my original guides, and the Darkflame Universe team has been hard at work with continuing development and improving the software, so it's time to bring a new video guide with all the new updates and improvements included. Now, as a preface, this guide is specifically for setting up a public-facing multiplayer server on Linux. Note that legally you cannot host a fully public server, and this can only be used for a reasonable number of people you personally know. If you're looking to set up a local server to play solo on Windows, I've also released a brand new, simpler single-player video guide that you can find in the description. You can use this multiplayer server to play on your own as well, and it can be useful if you don't want to run the server on your local computer. I'll throw up the requirements for this tutorial on the screen. This guide can be followed on a local Linux computer or any other virtual cloud service, but I will be using Oracle Cloud for this video. Oracle allows you to run a free low-powered virtual machine indefinitely, which can be used for up to 3 to 4 players. The free tier should be available in most regions, including the Americas and Europe, but you may need to research other cloud options if it's not available in your region. If you run into any issues and you need assistance, please don't hesitate to join my Discord server and ask for help in the LEGO Universe channel. A screenshot and a short message letting me know what you're getting stuck on will be a huge help to getting an answer from me quicker. But remember, I'm just one guy, so please be patient. The link to my Discord and links to anything else used in this video can be found in the description. I'll also link to the GitHub page for Darkflame server, which contains the written instructions that this guide is based on. Lastly, before we begin, please stop and check the description or the pinned comment on this video. If there are any future changes to the software or an issue that I missed during the setup, I'll make explicit note of it on a linked webpage and provide instructions for how to fix it. It's very important to check this before starting in case there is something that will completely hinder your progress if not fixed beforehand, and I want this to be as quick and painless as possible for you. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get started. So the first step is to have some sort of Linux server available to you. Again, I'm going to be using Oracle Cloud because I've had a good experience with them, but you're free to use whatever cloud service you want, like Google Cloud, Amazon Web Services, or whatever works best for you. The actual setup process for this guide would be the same on any cloud service, so feel free to do what works best. I'll have this website linked in the description to go to their cloud page. You will need to sign up, and you do have to put in a credit or debit card that is valid. You won't be charged just for having an account, but you may see an initial charge like $1 or something that Oracle is using to verify your account, but you will get that money back after they've completed that process. Once you've signed up, you need to verify your email, and that will take about 10 to 15 minutes before you can actually get in and start using your account. Once you've signed up and gotten into your account, you should see on the right side that your subscription is a pay-as-you-go subscription and that you have a credit balance here. I believe it is 300 for new accounts. Once you surpass the trial period, that 300 will go away. But again, as long as it doesn't say you've used any of that $300 credit, you won't be charged for anything ever. So for Oracle, where you want to go is to the menu to compute and then instances. If you get here and you don't see any options, on the left side you look for the compartment section and choose the compartment from the drop-down list. So I already have a couple of virtual machines in here, so it might look a little bit different for you. But regardless, on this page, click Create Instance. And the name can be whatever you want. I'm going to do Darkflame Server. Leave the compartment as the default. The placement as the default as well. It's whatever physical location the virtual machine will be somewhere in the world. You can skip security, and then in image and shape, this is where you want to change the version of the image from Oracle Linux to Ubuntu. And then in this list you should find Ubuntu 22.04. This version is officially supported by Darkflame Universe at the time, so go ahead and check that in the list and click select image. And next you want to click on change shape. This is the type of actual virtual machine that is going to be used here. You would want to look for a specialty in previous generation. For this always free moniker, this is what Oracle uses to designate what is in their free program. Then you're looking for VM standard.e2.1.micro. This is the free type of virtual machine that they have, and it's always free. However, if you do see that this little warning that you can't select the box and it says it's not compatible or not available, this is a possibility if there's not enough provision for the specific availability domain that they have. you might need to change to a different one. So I'm going to switch to 82. I'm going to go back to change shape, and now I can select it. So if you see that, you might need to play around with the locations. But anyways, you can check that box, and once you check that, just click select shape. Again, this little warning will be a little different for me because I already have one of these running. You won't see this warning that your limit will be reached. But even if this was here, this is still within the free tier, so you still would not be charged. Once you have that all selected, you can scroll past this primary VNIC information. And then in the add SSH keys section, this is very important. You need this private key to be able to connect to this server and manage it at all. This is your only opportunity to download the private key after you've created the virtual machine. From here, you can save the private key. Make sure you put it in a safe location that you know you can find it. I'm going to put it on my desktop. You scroll past the boot volume section and block volumes, and then you can just click create. Now you may have seen that the estimated cost for this virtual machine is not zero. This is an expected behavior. That's just an estimate in general, but since if the default settings for this always free virtual machine are within their parameters for an always free virtual machine, you actually won't be charged each month. That was just an estimate that they provide for ease of use while you're configuring it, but you will not actually be charged for that. So once you click create, you'll be taken to the server page that you just made, and you'll see it's working its magic, and then once it's done getting set up, it'll turn green here and it'll say running. You'll see a whole bunch of information on here, but the most important stuff for you to know is that the public IP address is right here. This is what you'll use to connect to the server when you're playing the game, and also when we're configuring it later. And then the default username is just Ubuntu. Now before we start logging into the server, we're going to need to configure the network settings. So from this instance page, you can go to the instance details section and then look for virtual cloud network, and then click the link that's right next to it. On this page, you want to click the subnet link, and then in this security lists table, you want to click on the default security list link. And here you'll see one more table of ingress rules. This is what we're going to be working with now. So you're going to want to click add ingress rules. You can leave the source type as CIDR. And then the source, we're going to do 0.0.0.0/0. And then in the IP protocol dropdown, you're going to want to select UDP under common. You can leave the source port range blank, and then for the destination port range, you want to type 1001, and then a comma, and then no spaces between these, so 3000, and then a dash, and 3300. And once you type that in, click add another ingress rule here. Leave it as CIDR again, and then once again do 0.0.0.0/0. And then you can leave this selected as TCP, and then in the destination port range, you can do 1001, comma, 3000-3300, comma, 8000. Once you've configured those, you can click add ingress rules, and then you'll see all of those pop up in the table here. Once you have that all done, you can go back to the Oracle menu, compute, and instances. You should see the Darkflame server in that list. You can click on that to return to the main page for it. Next step is to configure our SSH client to connect to the server remotely so that we can start working on it. First thing you want to do on this page is to look for the public IP address and click the copy button to copy this IP address to your clipboard. You can also just highlight it and copy it the old-fashioned way. Client we're going to be using is PuTTY. This is a very common and reliable SSH client for Windows specifically. You can find this link in the description. From here you want to click on download PuTTY, and then under package files look for MSI, and then 64-bit x86, you can click this link to download PuTTY. Once you've installed it, the first thing we're going to do is look for PuTTY Gen in the Windows search. This will show up as an app there. Go ahead and open that. At the top, click Conversions and then Import Key, and go to wherever you saved that key earlier and select the private key that you downloaded. So it should just say key file here under type. Select it, click Open, and you'll see all this crazy information here. Then you want to click Save Private Key. If it asks you about the password, you can say that's fine, just say yes. And again, save it somewhere safe that you know you can find it. You want to name it something you can recognize as well. I'm just going to name it Darkflame. And then it'll have this file type as ppk, and then click save. So now you can close this window, go back to your Windows search, and search for PuTTY again, and this time you're just opening the one that says PuTTY. So now we're going to set up all the settings that we need so that we can connect to this. The first thing you want to do is paste in the IP address that you copied earlier in this hostname field. On the left side, you want to click on connection. In the seconds between keep alives box, change this to 60. This basically just tells the connection to not close itself due to inactivity, so that while we're waiting for stuff to happen, we don't get disconnected. And then expand the connection section and click on data. And for the auto login username, we're going to do Ubuntu, UBU, NTU, and then expands the SSH section, and then expands the auth section, and then you want to click on credentials in this list. For the private key file option, click browse, and go to wherever you saved that private key that you just created called Darkflame. Go ahead and click on that, and then click open, and then that'll add that file there. Then I'll do one extra thing. You don't have to do this. I'm just going to do it for ease of use. I'm going to change the font size to something a little bigger so that it's easier to read. And once you're done with that, click on session again. And then to make this easier to reconnect later, you want to, in the save section box, type in Darkflame and then click save. And then that'll add this preset here. So whenever you open PuTTY, you can just click on this in the list and then click load. And it pulls up all those settings we just configured so you never have to touch them again. Once you've got that saved, all you have to do is click open, and it'll pull up a terminal window, and you'll also see this security alert. This is going to show up the first time you try to connect because it doesn't know what computer this is. Since we know what computer it is, we can just click accept and it won't bother us anymore. Once you see this say Ubuntu at Darkflame server, you know you're connected and you're ready to go. So now we're going to be typing a bunch of commands. I'm going to do my best to explain what we're doing while also making it easy to follow along. So one portion of the commands that you'll be using a lot today is sudo. You call it sudo or sudo. I say sudo. This is basically just saying to run this command as an administrator, essentially, with extra permissions. So a lot of commands that we'll be using today will start with this, just so you know. So you want to type sudo space and then apt space update, and then hit enter. And you'll see a whole bunch of things going on. This might take a few minutes as it's pulling all these updates from the servers. Now that it's got in this list of all the updates, we need to install them. So we'll do sudo again, space apt space upgrade, then space -y. This -y basically just means you don't have to press approve on every program that's being installed, because there's going to be a lot of them. So once you type that, hit enter. And again, this might take another few minutes while it installs all of them. If you see this screen come up, all you have to do is hit enter to hit OK. If you see this one as well, hit the tab key to switch down to the OK button and hit OK. And if you did see that first screen asking about the kernel, you should restart the virtual machine. This should only take a minute or two, but the command to do that is sudo space reboot, hit enter, and then PuTTY will error out because it lost connection, but it's because the computer's turning off. So give it a couple minutes. You can close this window and open PuTTY again, and after you wait a few minutes, you should be able to load the profile and click open to reconnect. Once you're back in, we're going to install some applications. For this, we'll do sudo and then space apt space install space -y, and then we're gonna have a whole bunch of ones on this list. I'll just read them out as I go. So we got git, git, gcc, gpg, wget, wget, build -essential, lib ssl -dev, and then open SSL, and then zlib 1g -dev, and then Maria DB -server, and Python 3, and Python 3 -pip, SQLITE 3, net -tools, unrar, UNRAR, and unzip, UNZIP. Once you got all those typed out, hit enter, and it'll pull all those applications and install anything that they need. Once that's done, we'll work on installing one more program. For this, we'll do sudo space apt purge, and then space dash dash auto dash remove, and then space cmake. Might not be installed. It might just say nothing was removed or done anything, so that's totally fine. And then for this one, we'll do sudo apt update, and then space, and then 2 ampersands. It's on the 7 key usually, and then space sudo apt install -y space software properties common, and those 3 words are separated by dashes, and then a space, and then lsb dash release, and then space, and then again 2 ampersands, space sudo apt clean all, and then hit enter. Next, we've got a bit of a long one. We'll start with wget dash capital O space. Then this is a little sneaky one. There's a dash and then another space, and then we'll type out a link. So https://kitware.kitware.com/keys/kitware-archive-latest.asc, and then number 2, right facing bracket /dev/null, and then space, and then we're going to do a vertical line. This is usually the key above the enter key on your keyboard, and then space gpg space dash 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 darmor, oops, and then space dash, and another space, and another vertical line, and then sudo t, so t with 2 e's, and then space /etc/apt/trusted.gpg.d/kitware.gpg, then space right facing bracket /dev/null, and hit enter. Doesn't look like anything happened, but that is correct, and that means it worked. Next, we'll do sudo apt-add-repository space, and then double quote deb, and then another link https://apt.kitware.com/ubuntu, and then another slash, and then do a $sign and a open bracket, or open parenthesis, sorry, and lsb underscore release dash cs, and then a close parenthesis, and then space main and a closing double quote. Hit enter. It might ask you to hit enter again to confirm. Just go ahead and do that. Once that's done, you'll do sudo apt update, hit enter. Once you've done that, do sudo apt install kitware-archive-keyring. After that, do sudo rm space /etc/apt/trusted.gpg.d/kitware.gpg. Hit enter. Then once again, do sudo apt update. If you get this error, which you probably will, you'll see that it says the following signatures couldn't be verified. Look for this no_pub key section, then you'll see a string of numbers and letters here. You want to highlight that and then right click it to copy it. Oops, clicked it twice. So instead of Control C, which you normally do, right clicking is what you do to copy it. So the command you want to type is sudo space apt-key space adv space -- key server space key server .ubuntu.com space -- recv -keys, and then do a space. And since you copied that string of characters earlier, you can paste it by clicking right click again, then hit enter. It should say imported 1, and then you can type sudo apt update again, and it should work this time. Once that's all done, do sudo apt install cmake, C-M-A-K-E. Since I didn't put the -y on this one, it'll ask you to continue, so you can type the letter Y and hit enter. Once that's installed, type C-M-A-K-E, cmake -- version. And this number here should be greater than 3.25. So since I'm at 3.0, my version is greater than that, and that means we're all set to go. The last thing we'll do for this section is to configure the network settings on the computer itself. They have to be configured separately from the virtual hosting cloud client and also on the computer itself. So here we'll do sudo space IP tables -save, then a right-facing bracket, and then firewall backup dot rules, and hit enter. Then we'll do sudo IP tables, and then space -I, and then in all caps input, and then space 1 space -p space TCP space -m space multiport, and space D -D ports, and then the number 8000 space -J, and then accept. And we'll do this again in the same format, sudo IP tables -I input 1 -p, and right here it'll change to UDP, and then space -m multiport -D ports, and then here it's 1001 comma 3000, and then a colon 3300, and then space -J and accept again. And here we're going to type sudo su. This will elevate to a account with much higher privileges that we won't only be using for this. Then we'll type IP tables -save right-facing bracket /etc /IP tables /rules.v4, and then hit enter. And then type the word exit and hit enter. And you should be back to this Ubuntu user rather than root. Next is the database setup. We're going to type in sudo service mysql start, hit enter. Again, it might not look like anything happens, but that's a good thing. Then here you'll type sudo system ctl enable space -- and then mysql. This command just sets MySQL to auto start whenever the server starts or restarts, so that you don't have to mess with this every time. Next, you'll type in sudo mysql _secure installation, and then hit enter. So it'll ask for the current password for root. Hit enter because there is none. If asked to switch to Unix socket authentication, type N and hit enter. It'll ask you to change the root password. I'm going to say that we should, so type Y and hit enter, and it'll ask you to enter the password. You can set this to whatever you want. Just make sure that you don't forget it because it's very difficult to change it after. And while you're typing it, it won't look like anything is being typed. This is just a security feature of Linux, so just make sure you're careful while you're typing it. I'm going to do Darkflame as my password, which is very secure. So I'll type in Darkflame and hit enter, and I'll ask you to re-enter it to verify. Type in Darkflame again. Hit enter. It looks like I typed them right. And then remove anonymous users, type Y and hit enter. Disallow root login remotely. Make sure to say N and hit enter, otherwise we wouldn't be able to access it via SSH. And then remove test database, hit Y and hit enter. And reload privilege tables, type Y and hit enter. And MariaDB is all set up. Now we're going to log in to MySQL. Type sudo mysql-u, so that's telling it to do the user, so our user is root for right now, and then space -p, and then enter the password that we just made. In my case, it was Darkflame. Hit enter, and you'll see MariaDB, and it'll look a bit different here as well. From here, we're going to type create database in all caps, and then Darkflame, all lowercase, and a semicolon. Hit enter. And you'll see query OK. That means that it worked properly. You don't have to call it Darkflame, but for simplicity's sake, I recommend doing so. Next, we're going to create the user. So we're going to do create user in all caps, and then a single quote, and then lowercase dlu server, and and then another single quote, and @ symbol, and then another single quote, local host, and then one more single quote, space identified by, and then a single quote. And here is where you would type the password for the user. This should be different than the root password for MariaDB. You can also set this to whatever you want. For simplicity's sake, I'm going to type Lego Universe as the password. So once you type your password in, add another single quote at the end of it to close that up, and then do a semicolon and hit enter. Next, we'll do grant all privileges on, and then lowercase Darkflame, and then do a period and a star or an asterisk, and then space 2, the word TO, and then single quote DLU server in lowercase, that's the username, another single quote, an @ symbol, a single quote, local host, one more single quote, and a semicolon, hit enter, and then do flush privileges, semicolon, hit enter, and then we'll type exit to finish up. So we've got all our software, we've got our database set up, and now we're actually going to install the Darkflame server. To start, we're going to download the files. We're going to type git, which is git, and then clone, and space -- recursive, and then space, and then we're typing the link https://github.com/darkflameuniverse and /darkflame server, and be sure to have the case matching here, so D and U are uppercase and then D and S are uppercase here, because this will change the name of the folder if you don't have the same capitalization, so it might make it more difficult for me to help you later if you need it, so make sure that that matches. Hit enter. Once that's all done, we're going to type in CD. CD stands for change directory. This is how we move around the file system through the command line without being able to click on icons. So CD space Darkflame server, and folders and files are case sensitive. So this is why I kind of emphasized making sure that that matches, because the name of the folder does have a capital D and a capital S. I just want to take one moment to explain how the folder structure is listed out. When you see, this is the name of the folder here, and then you see the slash and this tilde key icon. The file path is not tilde Darkflame server, it's shorthand for your home folder for the user. So if you, I'll show you this here. If you type this pwd command, this is what this tilde key is pointing to, is /home/Ubuntu. So this is where the actual folder for Darkflame server will be located. And if you ever just type cd and hit enter, or cd tilde, you'll go to /home/Ubuntu. You shouldn't need to know this to complete this guide, but I just wanted to share that information so that you can understand what we're doing. So now that you're in the Darkflame server folder, you're going to want to type a period, a /, and then build, and then another period, and then sh, and then space -j2. So this is a script to do all the magic behind the scenes to make it work properly. And then the -j2 is a safety feature to not overload the computer. You don't have to include this. At least on this Oracle virtual machine, I was able to run it successfully without any issues. And that took about 20 to 30 minutes without this added on. With this added on, it could take up to 45 minutes because it is not a particularly powerful computer. But if you are running into any issues with that not on there, I recommend adding that to make sure that it's running successfully. So once you've done that, hit enter. And it'll be doing a lot of stuff. It does have a progress percentage that you can see, but it does kind of vary as it goes through. So again, up to 45 minutes for completing this step. There's a lot for it to do. But in the meantime, we can start preparing to transfer our client to the server. So you can leave this open in the background or minimize it. I'm going to minimize it so there's not so much on the screen. The other piece of software that you're going to need for this step is FileZilla. This is a way to transfer files over the network. You're going to need the client. You can download it here, but there's a bunch of ads and additional software that would be installed if you use this one. So if you click on show additional download options, at the very top should be the latest version for 64-bit x86. So click Win64 setup.exe and download that file. And you can run through the installer. Since you downloaded the one without all the ads in it, it should be a pretty standard experience for installing. You can just click next through all of it, click install, and then you should be good to go. Now before we continue, I wanted to discuss the client for a moment. Unfortunately, I'm not able to share with you where to find the client, but I trust that you'll be able to use your resources to find one. Just make sure that you're downloading it from a trustworthy looking source. If it says that it's an official site for LEGO Universe, it's not. So just make sure that you're using your best judgment when you're searching for a client. Now you specifically need the unpacked LEGO Universe client, and it needs to be version 1.10.64. Now once you've downloaded the client, there is a way to check if you've had a verified safe client that you found, not an unsafe one. To do this, you want to make sure that you have not unzipped the download yet, so it should be a .rar or .zip, depending on what you've downloaded. Mine is a .rar file. So from here, open up the command prompt in Windows. And here you want to type in cert, C-E-R-T-U-T-I-L -hash file space. And then here you want to have your file explorer open and then drag the downloaded client file to the command prompt, and it'll paste in the full path of the file location. And then do space SHA256. And after a few seconds, it should spit out a long string of letters and numbers. I'm going to put on screen right now what the good hash for the unpacked client is. And again, you need the unpacked client for this guide. So there's only going to be the one hash that you're looking for. I'm going to show the last 9 digits of this hash. So if you see A6EC6775B, you should be good to go. And for reference, I got this from the official Darkflame Universe GitHub page. If you go there, the link is in the description. You scroll down to user guide and scroll down just a little bit. There should be a verifying your client file section, and they have listed out the good hash checksums of the client, and you can see the unpacked client here is this one that I just showed you. So now that you've confirmed that your client is safe and correct, you can go ahead and open up FileZilla, and you should see this screen. In here, click on File and Site Manager, and then click New Site. For the protocol, open that drop down and change it to SFTP. For the host, you're going to want to put in that public IP that you had earlier. If you no longer have it copied, you can return to the Oracle Cloud and click copy. Paste it into the host, and then for the port, leave that as blank. And the logon type, choose key file from the drop down. For user, type in Ubuntu. And key file, click browse, and use that same .ppk file that you generated earlier for PuTTY. You don't have to rename it, but it might make it easier to find it again. So you can click rename and then change it to Darkflame or whatever you want. Then click OK and click OK again. Now that's ready to go. I highly recommend waiting for the script on the server to finish before you continue to the next step. Just so that the server isn't doing too many things at once. And that you don't encounter any issues. So you can go grab a snack, wait for this to finish, and when that's done, you can continue from here. Alright, so that completed successfully, so now I can go ahead and start the file transfer. So to connect to the server, you want to go to the top left in FileZilla and click this little drop down arrow here, and then click the site that you made. Since I named mine Darkflame, it'll show up there, and it should connect automatically. Now that we're connected, we just need to see this Ubuntu folder here. So when you click on one of these, it'll change to the contents of that folder in this little window on the right. So the right side is the remote computer, and then the left side is your local computer. So you want to look for wherever you saved the client. If it's in your downloads folder, you'll want to go to the C drive, users, click on whatever username yours is, and then downloads, and then you should be able to find the client in there. From here, all you need to do is click on the client and drag it over to the other side and drop it in the white space for the Ubuntu folder. Drop it in, and then you will see the file transfer progress at the bottom. And since the unpacked client is larger than the regular one, this could take a bit. It's just over 3 gigs. So this might take another 30 to 40 minutes depending on your network speed and the speed of the remote server. All right, once that's done, you should see the transfer move from the queue to successful. Since it's all done, you can just close FileZilla. Now we'll go back to our PuTTY window and continue working on the setup. So you want to type CD and hit enter to return to the home folder for the user. And if you type in ls, you should be able to see the LEGO Universe client that you copied over. And for sake of completeness, you can also check the hash file on Linux as well with this command. And you can see again that we have the same checksum that we had earlier. So next we'll do sudo mkdir. So this is the command to make a folder. And then do space and then client. This is the name of the folder. So if you do ls, you can see that the client folder is here. All right, next we're going to need to unpack the client. So the command to do this is sudo unrar and then space x and then space double quotes and then type in the name of the client file. So mine is LEGO Universe unpacked.rar. End it with another double quote, then do space, then do tilde / client and hit enter. And this might take a couple of minutes because there's a lot of files. You should see all okay once it's finished. And now we can move on to the next step of configuring the server itself. To start, we're going to want to move to the server folder. So to do this, we'll type cd and then Darkflame server. Remember, capital D, capital S, hit enter. And then in here, you'll type cd and then build. From here, we're going to open up a text file to edit. So we're going to do sudo, then space nano, N-A-N-O, and then space shared config.ini, and then hit enter. And this will open up the nano text editor. This is one I mostly use because I think it's pretty easy to navigate compared to some of the other ones. Most important thing to note is that you can't use your mouse in this interface, so you have to navigate with the 4 arrow keys in your keyboard. And just as a general tip, the cursor, when it's highlighted over any given character or space, if you were to type a key, it would put it before the character that you have highlighted, so that you can use that as a guide for where to put the cursor if you need to edit something. So to start off, at the very top, you'll see MySQL host. Next to the equals sign, type in localhost. Scroll down one line to database and type in Darkflame. Scroll down one more line and type in DLU server. And then for the password, this is whatever you typed into MySQL when you set the password. For my case, it was LEGO Universe. Now you can scroll down a few lines to this line that says external_IP. You want to delete where it says localhost and change it to the IP address for your client. And if you don't have this copied anymore, you can always go back to the Oracle dashboard and copy it again. And once again, to paste, you have to do a right click rather than Control V. So you hit right click and it should paste in that IP address for you. Scroll down a bit more to where it says client location. Here we're going to type 2 periods, a /, 2 more periods, another /, and then the word client. Should look like that. And scroll down to the next one for maximum outgoing bandwidth. This is an optional feature, but it does tend to help with lag that you might experience. So you can delete the 80,000 or whatever other number is there and replace it with 0. So now this file is done, what you need to do is click Control X on your keyboard at the same time. And then when it asks you to save, type Y. And then just hit enter when it asks you the file name. and then that's all saved. Next, we're going to type in sudo and then set cap, all one word, and then space single quote cap underscore net underscore bind underscore service equals plus the plus sign E P and another single quote and space auth server with A capitalized and S capitalized, and hit enter. Next, we'll open another text file. We'll do sudo nano master config.ini. Then in here, you will want to scroll down to use underscore sudo underscore auth, and then change the 1 to 0. And then again, to save, you do Control and X at the same time, type Y, and hit enter. Next, we're going to make our account that we would use to log into the game. You're going to type a period and a /, and then master server, capital M, capital S, all one word, then space, and then -A. You'll see a whole bunch of stuff pop up. This is going to be run the first time that you run this command. Then you'll be asked to enter a username. This can be whatever you want. I'm going to do hyper, hit enter, and then it'll ask for your password. Again, this one will be hidden as you type it, so just make sure that you're careful while you're typing it. So I'm going to do hyper as my password, super secure. Then it's going to ask you what level of privilege the account should have. Make sure to set this to 9, otherwise you will not be able to log in to the game with this admin account. So type in 9 and hit enter. Then when you see destroying MySQL connection, that means this step is done. So now the server configuration is done, but we do need to configure the client. The following steps will need to be done by you and anyone else that wants to join your server. So on your local computer, you need to go wherever your client file is, and you will need 7-zip to extract this. So if you don't already have it installed, you can get it from this website here, which I'll have in the description. You can click this download link right here. Once you've installed that, you can right-click the client. On Windows 11, you have to go to Show More Options, and then you can find 7-zip in the list, and then click Extract to whatever the name of the file is. And this might take a few minutes. Once you have that extracted, you can put the folder wherever you want. I'm just leaving it in my Downloads folder for demonstration purposes. But from here, you want to go into the folder and look for the boot.cfg file. If you can't see the .cfg extension, you need to click on View and then Show, and then check the File Name Extensions option to see that. Once you find that file, you want to right-click it and then edit it with Notepad. You can do the Open With dialog. In Windows 11, it might show up as a direct option. In Windows 10, it's the same thing. You'll look for Open With, click on Notepad in the list, and then it should pull up the text here. In this text file, you want to find auth server IP and replace the local host with the IP address for your server. And make sure to leave this comma in here after it, because that still needs to be there. So it'll be 0, your IP address, and then a comma. And then down here, you'll need to look for UGC use 3D services. And then you'll see 7:1, excuse me. Change it to 7:0. Once you've done that, click File and then click Save, and then you can close Notepad. Now let's return to the PuTTY window, and you type in CD and then do the tilde key /Darkflame server, capital D, capital S, and hit enter. And here you'll type in sudo cp system d, all one word, .example, and space /etc/system d/system/darkflame.service. And for the next step, this is mostly for anyone who's following along and is not using this specific Oracle instance, but you'll want to type in id-gn. So this will pull up the group name for the Ubuntu user. In this instance, the user is Ubuntu and the group is also Ubuntu. So keep that in mind after we type in this next one. So sudo nano /etc/system/darkflame.service. And then we're back in the nano text editor. You're going to want to scroll down and look for the user. and replace this name with whatever the name of your current user is. In this case, it's been Ubuntu. And then for the group, delete the Darkflame again, and the group would be whatever was shown up in that previous command, and in this case it was also Ubuntu. And scroll down a bit more to exec start, and then scroll over to this / right before Darkflame server, and then hit backspace until you delete all of it up until the equal sign, and then do /home/Ubuntu, and then the rest of it will stay the same. Then to save it, hit Control and X, type Y, and hit Enter. Now that that's done, we need to refresh the system, so we'll do sudo system ctl daemon, so daemon is DAEMON -reload, and hit Enter. And then you'll do sudo system ctl start darkflame.service and hit Enter. Now we can check if this worked, so we can do sudo system ctl status darkflame.service and hit Enter. And then it should pull up a snapshot of the logs from the server. When you're looking at the logs, if you see finished loading world zone 0 and zone 1000 and awaiting user list, that means that the server started correctly and it's ready to go. And then to close these logs, you'll do Control and Z at the same time. So from here, you would be able to load up the game on your computer, and you should be able to log in already. Just like that, the server is up and running and the game is ready to go, but there is still more to be done. This section is for the Nexus dashboard add-on program. This allows you to manage the server from a web interface, so adding new users to the server, approving names, any types of moderation things, all that good stuff. If you want to be adding other players to the game, you should be installing this. But if you're just going to be playing this on your own, I just recommend skipping to the next section for server management, so you can know how to properly work with the server now that it's all set up. So to start with installing Nexus dashboard, we want to stop the server. So since we just had it started, we're going to do sudo system ctl stop darkflame.service to make sure that's not running. And then we are going to do sudo apt install -y python3 python3-pip sqlit3 and libmagick wand, so lib magic wand, and then -dev, all one word, and then hit enter, and those will install. Once that's done, we'll type cd and hit enter, and we're going to type in git clone, and then type in this link https://github.com/darkflameuniverse, capital D, capital U, /Nexus dashboard, capital N, capital D, and hit enter. Next, we're going to type in cd Nexus dashboard, capital N, capital D, hit enter, and we're going to do cp app/settings_example.py space app/settings.py and hit enter. Then we're going to do sudo nano app/settings.py and hit enter. So from here, there's going to be one more link in the description for an online generator. We need to generate a secret key for the app. So I use this website. From here, you need to choose the 32 length for the string. You just need one result. And then for the string values, you do all letters, A to Z, and numbers. So lowercase and uppercase. And then click generate new random strings, and you'll get one random string here. Go ahead and copy that. You hide that window again, and then in Nano, scroll down to app_secret_key and highlight this last quote here, and then right click to paste in this secret key that you just copied. And then right below that, you'll see app database URI. Scroll over to this colon next to username and delete up until this bracket, and then type in the username for the database user, which was DLU server. Scroll over again to this @ symbol to highlight it, and then backspace to delete the brackets, and then type in the password that you used for that user. This was the one in the shared config.ini file, and my password was Lego Universe. Then scroll over to this / next to database and delete port and host up into the bracket, and then type in localhost, all one word, and then scroll over to the last double quote, delete database up to the bracket, and then type in Darkflame, which is the name of the database that we made earlier. And the last thing is to scroll down just a little bit to find user_enable_register and change this from false to true. And then you want to hit Control X, Y, and then hit enter to save it. Next, we're going to do sudo mkdir app/lu client/locale, so local with an E. And then we'll do sudo mkdir app/lu client again /res, so res. Hit enter. Then we'll do cd app/lu client. Hit enter. And then we'll do sudo cp, and then we'll do the tilde key /client/locale, local with an E, /locale.xml space locale/locale.xml. It's a lot of locales. Then we'll do cd res, res. Then we're going to copy a couple folders and files from the client to here. So we'll do sudo cp-r, and then the tilde /client/res/brick models, capital B, capital M, and space brick models, capital B, capital M, and hit enter. And to make this a bit easier, hit up on your arrow key on your keyboard and delete the brick models portion of this, and then replace it with brick primitives, all one word, all lowercase, and then do space brick primitives again and hit enter. Once again, hit up on the keyboard, delete brick primitives, and replace it with textures, all lowercase, and then space textures again. And once again, go up on the arrow key, backspace to delete textures, and then replace it with UI, and then space UI, and hit enter. And once more, hit up on the keyboard, delete UI, and then replace it with brickdb.zip, all lowercase, all one word, and space brickdb.zip. And then you want to type in sudo unzip brickdb.zip. Lastly, we're going to type in sudo cp /darkflame server, uppercase D, uppercase S, build /res server, so res is lowercase and a capital S for server, /cd server.sqlite, and then it's the capital CD and S, and then do space, and then cd client.sqlite, all lowercase. Now to finish up, we're going to do sudo nano, and then do the tilde / and then .bash rc, hit enter. So from here, just hold down the arrow key to scroll all the way to the bottom, and then on a blank line, type in export, and then in all caps path equals double quote, and then do a $ path, all uppercase, :/home /ubuntu /.local/bin, and then another double quote. It should turn yellow when you're done. Hit Control and X, type Y, and hit enter to save, and then do source tilde /.bash rc, hit enter. The next we're going to do cd tilde / nexus dashboard, capital N, capital D, hit enter. Then we're going to do Python 3, all one word, -m pip install space -r requirements.txt, and then hit enter. Once that's done, you want to type in Python 3 -m pip install gunicorn, hit enter. Then you'll do flask db upgrade and hit enter. Once that's done, the command to start Nexus dashboard is gunicorn space -b space :8000 space -w4 space WSGI app, app, and then hit enter. Once you see these messages here, you can open up your browser, open a new tab, type in the IP address for your server, and then do :8000 and hit enter, and it should load up the Nexus dashboard interface. From here, you'll click login and use the admin account that you created earlier. I used Hyper as the username and password. Click sign in, and you should be able to log in and see lots of tools for management, things like that. If you want to create a new account for another player, you go to the Play Keys tab and generate a play key. You can take the key that you generated and send it to your friend along with the website that you entered initially, so the IP address :8000. And then when they come in to log into the website, they can click register instead. They'll enter the play key that you gave them, fill out their information, and then they can register for an account that will allow them to log into the game. So there's a lot of things that the dashboard can do. One of the things is that you can view player-built properties through the web browser, but this server is not powerful enough to be able to do that. So if you try and do that, it will probably crash your server. So I recommend not using that feature, but everything else should be fine. And of course, if you've opted for a more powerful server, you should have no issue using that feature. A Nexus dashboard does not need to have the server itself running to be able to use it, but it is possible you might experience some limited functionality if the server is not running, so just keep that in mind. And then to stop Nexus dashboard, all you have to do is return to the terminal and hit Control and C at the same time. So now I'm going to run through some general server management information and tools that I believe are useful to know, and also make it a lot easier to get up and running each time you want to play. Generally, when you first log into PuTTY, this is the process that you would do. You would do sudo systemctl start darkflame.service, hit enter. And then if you want to use the dashboard, you can do this, but you do not always need to run the dashboard if you're not planning to use it. So if you just want to turn on the game and play, you do not need to turn on the dashboard. But you do cd /Nexus dashboard, hit enter, then you'll type that crazy command g-unicorn -b :8000 -w for WSGI app. And then now the server and Nexus dashboard are running. And keep in mind, if you close the PuTTY window, the server will keep running, and the game server will keep running. But Nexus dashboard may close itself since you are looking at it when you close the window. So if you do need the dashboard to keep running, just make sure that you leave the PuTTY window open. If you don't need the dashboard to be running, you can safely close PuTTY and the game server should continue to run. And then the general process to stop running the server is if Nexus dashboard is running, you do Control-C to stop it. And then if you need to stop the game server, you'll type sudo systemctl stop darkflame.service, and that will shut down the server in the background. If you ever encounter any strange issues that you think might just need to restart the game server, you can do sudo systemctl restart darkflame.service. Or if you need to restart the entire server, you can do sudo systemctl stop darkflame.service, and then you do sudo reboot, and that, as you saw earlier, will disconnect you from PuTTY. You just wait a few minutes, then reconnect, and you can start the server again. If you ever need to troubleshoot anything with the server, you may want to be able to look at the logs. To do so, you'll type in journal ctl space -xeu space darkflame.service, and it'll pull up all the log history for the Darkflame server. You can scroll through this by moving up and down with the arrow keys, and you can look in these logs to see if anything is going on. If someone's helping you, they might ask you to look at this to continue the troubleshooting, so this is a good tool to know. And to exit out of this, you do Control and Z to return to the normal command line. And lastly, Darkflame Universe and the server are still in active development, so if there's any updates to the software, you would do cd /Darkflame server, hit enter, and then you do git pull to download the latest software. If there's no update, it will just tell you it's already up to date. But if there is an update, it will download those files, and then you'll type in git submodule update --init space -- recursive to finish up that update process. And then after that, you can start the server as you always have with a new update installed. So that should be everything that you need to know for setting up the server for single player or multiplayer use. I hope that you have a great time returning to this part of all of our childhoods, and that you have a great time playing with some of your friends. If you encounter any issues after you set this up, or if you have any other questions, please feel free to join my Discord server and ask. I'm always happy to chat. I really hope that this guide was simple and helpful, and I hope you have a great time returning to LEGO Universe. Thank you.